Hey everyone, so I'm back with another Rainbow Cup video, and if you haven't seen my previous video, it was actually in collaboration with Elite 4 TV, so I'll link that video to the description below, and so you can check out how I built this off-meta team that I did. Also, feel free to subscribe to that channel. Blandon and the other contributors put out a lot of really great content there, so definitely check their stuff out. So I decided to go into this cup with the same team I went in last time. The only distinction is that instead of running Flamethrower on my Ninetales, I'm running Solar Beam. And the reason behind that is there was probably one match in the end that I could have done better had I had Solar Beam instead of Flamethrower. I decided to try out Solar Beam because it gives me some additional coverage in the grass category, because currently I'm only relying on Blossom for that, and also it's a recommendation from one of my subscribers, Chris Hart, so I decided to give it a shot. I won't give it any spoilers for the rest of the video, but I will say that there wasn't any situation where I would have needed Flamethrower instead of Solar Beam. And because I already did my weighted cup, this was just mostly for fun, so I decided to try some unconventional and pretty risky strategies here or there, and sometimes they worked out for me, sometimes it didn't. So going into round one, I'm going against Jinhee43. Jinhee's a good friend of mine, and so I knew this was going to be a lot of fun. And she goes in with Mantine, which counters Blossom pretty well. And what I realized is that she doesn't have a true Kingjoy counter, so I figured Kingjoy would be a decent safe switch no matter what. And right here, I'm just going to go for the Outrage to take out this Mantine. Mantine does do quite a bit of damage to Kingdra, especially if I don't shield attacks, but I really wanted to switch priority after this, so that's why I decided to double shield it. And then she goes in with Lantern. So what I meant before was I didn't think she had any true counters, but Charge Beam Lantern does counter Kingdra pretty well, so compared to the Water Gun variant. So in this situation, I knew that it was a little bit tricky. So I take out the Lantern with Blossom, and then she's going to bring out Venusaur right here. Or she brings out Mantine actually. So I just did a quick switch because I figured it was going to be a counter to my Blossom. And she's going to go for a Frenzy Plant, which is the right move choice here. And I'm just going to go for Stone Edge. And so I'm in a tricky situation because I don't really have a Venusaur counter at this point. Magcargo can beat Venusaur in Zero Shields, but that's pretty much it. And so I'm pretty much just hoping she doesn't go for a Sludge Bomb, and she decides not to. I think if she went for Sludge Bomb, I probably would have lost this match. But because she went with Frenzy Plant, I was able to get to a Razor Leaf and take out the Venusaur. So definitely a close match there. And I decided to just start off with Kingdra instead of playing it risky and doing the switch in. And then she brings out her own Kingdra. And so if you can watch the HPs on this, you'll see that her Kingdra actually beats out mine. So this is one of the few scenarios I've ever experienced where I noticed that IVs actually makes a difference. She ends up shielding the Outrage, and then she used hers on mine. I think it was simultaneous because she was going for it at the same time, because after she's like, oh, I wish I didn't use it, because she could have held on to it. But I think I'd CMP there, so that's why I was able to get to the Outrage first. And then so again, don't really have a strong Venusaur counter here, so I switched to Magcargo. But I do it just in time when I take the Frenzy Plant, so that way, the Sludge Bomb, so that I know that I could catch up a little bit on her energy. And at this point, I realized that I can just take out this Venusaur without expending any charge moves, so I'm going to do that and then just hit whatever comes in next with the Stone Edge, because my guess is that whatever is coming up next would resist Overheat based on the rest of her lineup. And so it's a Lantern, Charge Beam Lantern, and I'm able to get to another Stone Edge, which is nice. And then I know that I'm pretty good at this point. I was going to go for a quick switch at this point, but because she decided to use her charge move, it went to Blossom, and that's why you saw that weird animation glitch right there. And then I'm able to take out Lantern with Blossom. So that was round one. Good match with Jinhee right there. And then I'm going against a Grange. And Grange is also another lander local too, so and he's pretty good as well too, so I knew this was going to be an interesting match for sure. He has Kingdra, so I decided to lead with Fortress just in case he opens with it, because Fortress was a counter pretty hard. Fortress does decent against Mantine too, so I figured I might as well stick in with this match just because I decided to go with Fortress, Magcargo, and Kingdra. Obviously Magcargo can beat Mantine as well, but I want to stay in this matchup just because I don't want to lose switch priority. And so this works out perfectly because it's Charizard, and then I switch as well, and then so we have two Kingdras going head to head. I believe I let this go. This gives me 2 shields against this Kingdra, and this way I can just take out this Kingdras with fast attacks. And so right here it's actually kind of funny. We both have both of our shields at this point, and I'm able to feign out this Charizard without additional shield usage. So I end up having 2 shields left, and a Grange had 1 shield left too. He probably could have held on to a second one too, because it wouldn't have changed the outcome of the match. But it's just an interesting little scenario I don't see often. So right here I go in with Magcargo, Kingdra, and Blossom, and like Jin, he doesn't have a true Kingdra counter. I can't remember if his Lantern was charged beam or water gun, but if it's not, I figured I could safe switch into Kingdra right there, and so that's what I decided to do. And I'm going to let this first attack go because I figured that I could survive an aerial ace, and then I'm going to shield the second one. At this point I can't survive the second aerial ace, and then if it was Ice Beam, definitely not as well. So go for Outrage, and then he decides to let his Mantine go. And then this is one of the big reasons why I have Blossom, because it could take out Kingdra pretty well. And so I'm going to go in with Magcargo just because I know that it's not going to be useful against the Quagsire, so I'm just going to do whatever I can with the to wear it down and then bring in Blossom after. And right here, doesn't really matter what Quagsire throws at me, I would have survived that. And so he just decides to let the Leaf Blade go because he knows that he wouldn't be able to beat the Blossom there. So good matches right there with Grange. And then here I'm going against Scarlord. And so Scarlord, really great player. He actually 2-0'd me in the local Nightmare Cup as well, so I knew this was going to be an interesting matchup. So he has a Azumarill, and so this is why I chose not to bring in Kingdra, because it hard counters Kingdra really, really well. And so I decided to bring in Magcargo, Blossom, and Ninetales. And so I will use the Blossom to clean up the Lantern, and I could take really any charge move it dishes out at me. And right here, he brings out Ninetales. And this is not the worst case situation, just because Blossom's not good against either Venusaur or Ninetales, and so at least it was able to do a little bit of damage to Ninetales. I think it would have been more resisted against the Venusaur. And right here it's kind of tricky because I know that I need to use my Ninetales to take out both his Ninetales and his Venusaur. So he does a quick switch in to absorb the side shock damage, and then right here I pretty much gamble because I figure that if it's a Frenzy Plant, I can't shield it, and I do need the additional shield for the Ninetales Mirror in the back end because he has more energy than me. And if it's not, then I'm going to take it because I'm going to lose anyway. So even if I use that shield there, I don't think it would have made a difference, and I think he still would have won. So that's why I decided to not use the shield, hoping it was Frenzy Plant, and if not, then I was going to lose one way or another. So good match for him in the first one, and then here I'm going against him with my Kingdra. Like I said before, Mantine does decent against Kingdra. It doesn't really beat it, but especially in 2 shields. So I'm right here. I'm just going to do whatever I can to keep this Kingdra alive, so I have switch priority. And so I'm going into this matchup with Kingdra, Lantern, and Blossom. So you'll see in a second where I messed up. And so right here, he brings out Venusaur. And it was at this moment I was like, well, I don't think I realized it until this Kingdra actually gets fainted out. And I don't think I would have got to outrage anyway, but I think he was playing it safe with the Frenzy Plant. I realized that I don't actually have a Venusaur counter, and so at this point, I'm like, okay, I need to do whatever I can with this Blossom to take down this Venusaur, and of course, Sludge Bomb's going to do a ton of damage, and so I just need to get to this Leaf Blade to take out this Venusaur. And then he brings in Quagsire. Oh, not a good situation for my Lantern. I was able to do quite a bit of damage, but I'm like, 1 Earthquake and I'm done. And so at this point, I thought I lost the match. And then I see a Stone Edge. And it didn't occur to me at the time, but I was like, okay, well, I'll take it, and I'll just go for a Thunderbolt. And then Scarlet told me after that his Quagsire is running Stone Edge and Acid Spray and not Earthquake. So that's that. I lucked out there. And not going to take that gamble against. I bring in an actual Venusaur counter right away. So Fortress to counter the Venusaur. So I brought in Fortress, Magcargo, and Blossom. Macargo is pretty good against Ninetales just because of the rock throw damage, and it could tank pretty much anything that Ninetales throws at him. It could survive 2 Side Shocks too. So right here, I'm just going to farm the energy off this Ninetales and not going to give in to any shield usage, just to, make sure that I have as much of a lead as I can, even with switch priority. Right here, he goes in with the Zoom Rail. Totally fine, because I brought in Blossom as well in my 3rd slot, so I'm going to bring that in once the switch, this countdown clock goes down, and I bring in Blossom. And so he's going to do a quick switch to Venusaur, and I'm going to switch into Fortress. And at this point, I'm up to 2 shields as well, and I believe he has, I think he has 2 shields too, but it doesn't matter because I have the switch priority and a counter for all of his remaining Pokemon too. So I was feeling pretty good at this point, and I'm just going to do as much damage as I can on this Venusaur before having to shield. And I do shield this just to be safe. I think I probably would have survived it, but why take the gamble when I didn't need to? And so I'm just gonna go for the Earthquake right here, and he does shield just because he would have died if he didn't. But and then I have Blossom, and I'm just gonna shield, even though I know I could take the Ice Beam, but just to be safe. And I win match 3. So really close games with Scarlo right there. And now we're going into round number 4 and the last round. And so I'm going against Adib Khan. And like I mentioned in my last video, Adib is a really strong player, despite his rankings, because he missed a few rank ups. And so he opens up with a Charge Beam Lantern, and this is not really great for me. And so I go in this matchup with Ninetales, Macargo, and Blossom, and that was actually a scenario where I probably could have gotten to Dazzling Gleam, but I just kind of panicked and went for the Leaf Blade. I don't know if it would have gotten to or not, but like I said before, it's really hard for Blossom to get to Dazzling Gleam, so I just really didn't even think of it as an option. Good scenario for his Charizard right here, because I really can't farm any energy off of it because it's so low on health at this point. And then he brings in Ivysaur. And so this Ivysaur, it's going to do a decent amount of work against Macargo with Power Whips. But I need to take this out because I need to use my Ninetales as effectively as possible in the back end against his Lantern. And so like I said before, my Ninetales has Solar Beam, so I let that charge move go because this gives me a bit of extra energy I can farm off of the Venusaur. And I want this shield against the Lantern because he could hit me potentially with a Hydro Pump. And so I decided to shield this. I figured it might have been a bait, but I really didn't want to gamble at this point just because I think I could get to the Solar Beam before you get to another, to get to a Hydro Pump. And so here I hit him with the Solar Beam. And it was a little surprising to him because he saw my last video and how I had Flamethrower before. And so that was at the moment I told him that I decided to switch out my Ninetales for one with Solar Beam instead. So going into round 2, I open up with Fortress. So I have Fortress, Macargo, and Blossom. And so right here, he brings in Mantine. And I didn't realize this until right after I switched that he's actually running a Bubble Mantine. And because he's running a Bubble Mantine, I really should have just gone for the Rock Throw on the Fortress to at least burn a shield or do some damage, because right here, it's going to be kind of hard for my Macargo to beat his Mantine because that bubble is just going to do quite a bit of damage. And so that's unfortunate because I end up losing switch priority there. And I'm kind of in trouble a little bit because I'm kind of worried that if he has a Charizard in the back end, if he's running double flyers and Lantern essentially, then I'm kind of in bad shape. And so I just go for the Rock Tomb because I didn't want to gamble to farm too much. I don't know if it was the best idea, but I don't think I would have survived this Charizard long enough to get off a second Rock Tomb anyway. And so this is not a great situation for Blossom to be in. And I don't shield this just because I figured if he's going for bait, I might have a chance to go Dazzling Gleam. If he's not going for the bait, I mean, there's no way I could win anyway. So that's why I decided not to shield that. So we're going to match 3, and I'm opening up with Kingdra against Charizard. Positive matchup for me, and I'm running Kingdra, Ninetales, and Macargo. I really gambled here because I didn't bring any water counters. But my main reason was I was a little afraid that he was going to bring Fortress in this scenario. And if he did, I would have a way to switch out this Kingdra into and bring in Ninetales to take out the Fortress. So he ends up bringing Lantern instead. And so this is one of the gambles I was talking about earlier in the video, where I just played around and experimented a little bit, and this is not the best scenario for Kingdra to be in, or just for my lineup to be in general. So if I had Blossom, that would have been GG, but I end up going against a Mantine and a Lantern instead, and Bubble Mantine is also not good for neither McCargo nor Ninetales, and so I was doing whatever I can to get to Stone Edge, because we're both down shields, and if he was running Water Gun Lantern, it actually probably would have been slightly easier, but as you can see, I was one fire spin away from Psyshock, and that was the game. So great game and match to a deep con right there, and he ended up winning the whole cup. And so I was in a tiebreaker tie with Rocket Grunt ATL. So this is a tiebreaker match, and we decided just to do sudden death, so just best of one. And as you can see from his lineup, he doesn't actually have any fortress counters. So his best fortress counter is probably a mix of like Quagsire or maybe a Fortress Mirror. And I decided to just leave Fortress. Also, it will wall off his Kingdra if he goes for it. And I decided to shield that Outrage. I know it does resist it, but just in case, I wanted to switch priority and I wanted to see what was coming in next. And so he has Mantine. And I decided to stay in this matchup, and I'm going in with Fortress, Ninetales, and Blossom. And so I decided to actually just shield this Fortress to do as much damage as I can to his Mantine, because I know I was close to a Rock Tomb. And Ninetales doesn't provide the best matchup against Mantine. And Blossom can potentially in some situations, depending on how much damage it does. But I'm going to switch straight away into Blossom against this Quagsire to take it down. And Blossom can survive anything that Quagsire dishes out at it, even Sludge Bomb, so no worries there. And then he brings in his Mantine, does almost takes out my Blossom, but the Razor Leaf was able to finish off. And so good game there to the Rocket Grunt. He's one of our Sylph Arena volunteers as well too, that organizes a lot of the tournaments too. Great to finally match up against him, and that was Rainbow Cup 2. I had a lot of fun using this anti-meta lineup. Obviously in some of my matches I could have played it a little less risky. Something to note in the previous video I made using this lineup is why I'm using Blossom as a pure grass user versus Meganium. And there were a few matchup differences here or there where Blossom usually did a little better than Meganium, but the big factor was Blossom beats Kingdra in all shield situations. Meganium wins in both the 1 and 2 shield situation when using Razor Leaf, and it loses in the 0 shield. And the reason why it loses because it can't get to a Frenzy Plant with Razor Leaf faster than before it gets hit with Outrage. But Blossom could get to Leaf Blade before Kingdra could get to Outrage. I appreciate all the support and comments and feedback and criticism as well. I think feedback and criticism is much needed to help anyone get better. And as you can see in all these videos, I make plenty of mistakes too, and there's a lot that I can learn from my matches. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all next time. Bye.